A question that won't leave my mind alone is, how stable is Tether? It just keeps popping up, and so I've been doing more research, and I feel it's important that I bring this to you. I was watching a video from BitBoy this morning, who I love all his stuff, and he mentioned Tether and said that he thought it was absolutely fine, that there was no issue with it. And I just wonder, has BitBoy, his team, done the research, the deeper research? Because I would imagine if he had, he wouldn't have said that. And I want to show you some of the findings that I have just come across. I did do another video recently where I covered certain elements about Tether, but in this we go even deeper. And I feel a little bit like Meryl Streep's character in The Laundromat. I'm Joanna Garzilli. This is Crypto Angel Network. Thank you for subscribing to the channel, for your wonderful comments, for your likes, and for sharing the videos. So yeah, I want to just share the happy, exciting stuff with you. I love crypto. I enjoy being in the space. I believe so much in DeFi and just the innovation that it can create. But I just feel that there's something that is going on that how can it not go away? I just don't see how what I'm about to show you, how it's just going to how it can be swept under the rug. And maybe it will. But let me go ahead and share my screen, and I'm going to just start to share my thoughts with you. All right, so we know that we've got three main stable coins, and I'm going to just go over. We've got US dollar Tether, we have US dollar coin, and then we have DAI. Those are all stable coins. And one of the reasons why this thing keeps coming up with Tether is because when we just had the market crash, what stood out to me so much was everything was down and Tether was up considerably. I had done some trades the other day. When I done those trades, it was, when I switched over to Tether, it was $1.0111 to 14. And then the other day when the crash was happening, it was 1.024. So almost 2.5 cents. And I understand, like, there has to be money to be made, but this, to me, I was like, this just doesn't feel right. And again, this is where I'm just going off of gut instinct. My gut instinct could be totally wrong, but it just doesn't feel right. And this is where I started to look deeper into finding what information can I find to have greater insight. So as of today, Tether we've got a 58.5 billion market cap. And then with US dollar coin, there is a market cap of almost 14.4 billion there. I mean, it's much less than Tether. And I want to just take you a moment. Let's just hop over here. And I'm just going to take you to US dollar coin. So US dollar coin, we can see here, it's a stable coin. It runs on the Ethereum, Stellar, Algorand, Solana blockchains. And then it was audited by Grant Thornton. And this is important that I share this with you because they are one of the 7th largest accounting networks in the world and the 6th largest US accounting advisory organization in the US. And the point I make that is because eventually, where I think we are going to see a slew of regulation start to come into effect later on in 2022, and that 2021 is going to be the last year where things can just go crazy, where I know for myself, I couldn't do anything on an exchange. If I'd wanted to take my money off the exchange in the crash, I couldn't get onto Coinbase. I couldn't, everything was, trading was suspended on Gate.io in terms of, because the Ethereum fees were too high and it wasn't for too many hours. But still, if I wanted to do something during that panic when people were freaking out, I wouldn't have been able to do so. So, It's managed, US dollar coin is managed by a consortium called Center, which was founded by Circle and includes members from the exchange Coinbase and Bitcoin mining company Bitmain. And so that, for me, it gives me some peace of mind because Coinbase has been cooperating with the SEC and is transparent in sharing information with them. And so anyway, I haven't done deeper due diligence on US dollar coin, but I feel more at ease with that because I want to go over to a tweet here that came up the other day when everyone was talking about, supposedly, I guess there's a conspiracy, people call it a conspiracy theory around the market being dumped. And I don't know specifically it was or it wasn't. I do think there's a lot of market manipulation, but some of this brings me back to Tether. And Felix Weltfremd said here he said, thanks Reuters, waiting for the Indian news tomorrow to complete the plan. Please also give my best to the exchanges who coordinate stuff like this to launder Tether to real dollars. Boom. I'd just done a video a couple of days before on Tether and what I didn't like what I was seeing with it. So I said to him, how did they do that? Do you think Tether will get in more trouble? I wonder why there is so little info on the 5 employees and only Panamanian Bank would back them. And then Felix says, here's how he explains it. Number 1, they dump Bitcoin by triggering stop losses. 2, short trades are being made by retails with leverage. 3, they buy Bitcoin with Tether and pump it in the air, short squeeze. 4, they sell Bitcoin for real US dollar for a higher price. 5, money laundered. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. I had to read that a number of times because I just can't get my head around the money laundering. But I just look at this this inflation of how the price is being driven. And then this led me to, I came back to CoinGeek, who does this whole thing on the crypto mafia. I was like, oh my God. I guess in any business, in anything there is. But they said, they started to talk about this about needing to do an audit of Tether, right? This is all going on with the OAG right now, which led to David Gerard, who says something awful. Buckcoin thread spotted this about Tether audit. Moore thinks Tether are misvaluing their claimed reserves, and Moore felt they needed to note that in the attestation. And it says, quote, management's accounting policies to value assets and liabilities at historic cost, plus any accrued interest and less any expected credit losses. Otherwise, the redemption value where applicable. The realizable value of these assets and liabilities could be materially different if any key custodian or counterparty incurs credit losses of substantial liquidity. This is highly unusual and extremely significant. Nowhere does Tether say that they follow GAAP, which is American style accounting, or IFRS, everywhere else style accounting. And Moore is silent on that as well, which would normally be a strange Ellison on its own. But that's irrelevant because the paragraph above describes something completely contrary to GAAP and IFRS. The fact that Tether doesn't follow GAAP or IFRS is not really surprising because any stablecoin issuer is going to be afraid of following accounting standards, because doing so forces them to reveal that the legal arrangement behind stablecoins is BS. What is a bit surprising is that the paragraph above suggests there's a second reason that Tether doesn't follow accounting standards, and it's because they have some kind of assets that have dropped in value and they don't want to show that drop. So, there are definitely issues here, and then, let me go back a step. This is why I showed you just at the beginning about US dollar coin, and that they have has been verified by a mainstream accounting firm. And then if we go to, hang on, what did I want to show you here? I wanted to show you here. There's a couple of different things. I'm going to go back and forth here. Just stick with me because this is important. And I just feel also that, am I worried? Is everything right now, is it going to collapse tomorrow? I don't think so, but I feel this is coming down the pipe. I want you to do your own due diligence. And I can just tell you that in the long run, knowing what I know now, like I was super excited. When I came across Gate.io. I was very excited to get into some of these projects. I'm going, oh my God, great. I can get US dollar Tether and then I can go into these trading pairs. And I've really enjoyed being some of these projects. But I've just got to tell you, long run, beyond 2021, I am not going to be I'm not going to do anything in US dollar Tether. I don't want to touch it with a barge pole based upon what I am finding. And that's hard because I may miss out on certain opportunities, but I would rather miss out on those opportunities. And right now, there are certain tokens that I'm in that I don't want to sell right now because I want the market to go up. I don't want to sell a loss on those, even though my portfolio is still up overall. I'm not prepared to do that. So I am looking on anything that I am in with US dollar Tether. I'm going to be exiting it within the next 3-4 months. With something I'm going to look into, for example, where the one meme coin that I will hang on to in the longer run will be Shiba, because I do think that's going to do well. And I'm going to look at investigating on how can I go onto, maybe put that onto Shiba, swap, onto their platform. Maybe eventually they will get listed on a Coinbase. I could see that happening. And I'm prepared. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take out my profits on Shiba and then I'll just keep some in there that is just like icing on the cake, so to speak. Or I can't remember who it is here in our network that said gravy. I'll just I'll stick with them and let that ride out. But anything, I am going to be taking my profits and getting the hell out because I don't have a good feeling. And unfortunately, when I have an uneasy feeling come up over and over, that is normally my intuition saying, don't stick around. And I just feel I'm just letting you know what I'm planning to do there with that. So let me just come back to this and share with you my thinking here on this. All right, so we've got the leadership of Bitfinex. And what's this got to do with US dollar Tether? Well, the founders of Bitfinex are also the main employees of Tether. And of the five, I know it's J.L. Van der Velde, Giancarlo Devanisi, Stuart Hogan, their general counsel, Paolo Ardonio, and then I'm not sure who, Peter Warwick, Claudia Lagario, who the original founder was. I know that Brock Pierce, one of the founders of Ethereum, was one of the originally part of Tether, and then he exited. He did not stick around. Brock Pierce did not stick around. And so let me go here. I just want you to see this. So there's the leadership team. And if we hop over here to this, I thought this was very helpful. So Tether US dollar is possibly a scam, but it can remain valuable. So I guess that's some of the positive news. So look, so much of the market, we got 60 billion here for in the market that definitely has an influence on things because we're in a couple of $1 trillion for the entire blockchain space, crypto space, and so 60 billion can have an impact. But what I don't like is that you've got just a handful of addresses that can pump or dump the market. That's essentially what can happen here. So Tether US dollar is a stablecoin with a claimed value where $1 equals $1. It doesn't. It's not backed. There's so much evidence that if everyone wanted to go and pull their money out of US dollar Tether today, it would be impossible. You couldn't do it. There is 3.8% in cash that is available. So Tether Limited, centralized authority of US dollar Tether, has the ability to print Tether. I mean, they can just print, sort of like the central bank can just go and print. And I mean, yeah, it's like the lesser of two evils. It's like pick your poison. just in my humble opinion here, is claiming to print something equivalent to US dollars. Tether is not a central bank or regulated in any way by any other country than British Virgin Islands. It is not audited. We know it's been fined by the SEC. It was 18.5 million fine. I think there's more to come. We will see. But I do not think the SEC is done with them in any capacity. I think we're going to, I think watch for 2022. That's what I'm saying here. And we will see. Let's see. Tether still trades at about $1. Why? Financial scams are unraveled when asset holders demand compensation at the same time during a bank run, and when the financial institution cannot compensate its customers. However, such a bank run could be avoided and scams could go on for a very long time, possibly indefinitely. And so this is like maybe the silver lining for some people in the space is maybe US dollar Tethers, maybe they're going to get away with this. And because they are so much becoming such a backbone of the industry. Asset holding is concentrated in hands of a few. I think actually it said 300 something addresses here. I think it's about 100 addresses now. That's a little bit scary. 60 billion by 100 addresses. Can you coordinate something to pump or dump? Where everyone's been talking about this Wyckoff distribution. Asset holders are part of the scam or are vested in the success of the scam. Yeah, so of course they're going to keep saying, oh, everything's fine. Oh, we're being transparent. I mean, I looked up stuff on Stuart Hoegner, who's their general counsel, and they have not been independently verified. They do not have an independently verified audit, and that is another red flag. But they're going to have to show this, so the clock is ticking. Regulators do not take action. In Tether's case, all three are correct. About 100 accounts are claimed to control most of the circulation. That is very, very scary to me. Account holders are likely to be exchanges that take advantage of Tether to minimize their dealings with regulated banks, which is necessary to deal in US dollar. This is a guess that we know at least that Bitfinex Exchange and Tether Limited claim to be owned by the same individual. I mean, that's conflict of interest right there. That's why they got slapped with that $18.5 million fine. They say that, they're regulated under FinCEN, Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, but this doesn't deal with a whole load of other regulations to protect retail. So expect Tether to continue as long as all these hold. Crypto exchanges remain liquid and need it to exist. I mean, because Coinbase recently, they have finally, even though they were advisors from there for US dollar coin, before it was just those pairs, now they've added on Tether. Stablecoins are not regulated, but I believe that they are going to be regulated. It's not if, it's when. It is coming. It's coming 2022. By 2023, everything's going to be totally regulated. And let's see, there's already a proposal in the US House of Representatives for stopping them from printing unbacked stablecoins. And so here's the thing. It's like, I think we don't want to have our hands tied in terms of innovation in digital finance, but also that we need to make sure that retail is protected from trading desks or from groups within the space who are manipulating the markets. And then it says here, central banks launching digital currencies like the digital yen will also limit use cases specific to stablecoins. Tether is not replaced by stablecoins that are backed by currency like US dollar coin or Facebook's DM, which is partnering with a bank. This may happen over time as those benefit from Tether see the regulatory risks increasing. Why is Tether possibly a scam? Is unlikely to be able to back all the Tether in circulation with US dollar. So we've just talked about that before. It's also true for banks do not bank all their deposits with cash equivalents. This approach is called fractional banking. No legal guarantees. Let me just go down. Who is Tether enriching? Owners of Tether Limited. Tether places funds in interest-bearing instruments like commercial paper and loans with returns. These returns become fully owned by Tether Limited since Tether's price is pegged to $1. So when investors invest in Tether, investors get no returns, but Tether Limited earns from the US dollar investors invested in Tether. All right, so let me just, I'm going to move on and let me show you this next piece of information here. So we talked about here, Tether was found in 2014. Brock Pierce, right? He's no longer part of it. Started in the Isle of Man. That's offshore, right? So all of these later moved to British Virgin Islands. This is, again, tax exemption offshore. This is where you have all the shell companies. This is why I'm talking about the laundromat. There's, they don't have to be verified. Let me just take you down here. I just want to go, hang on, bear with me here. They get referred to as the Tether Mafia. Now, at this point, there were only 318 addresses, but I guess it's been updated to around 100. And the concentration of Tether suggests that control of Tether is in the hands of a few central players who can swing Bitcoin prices and have a vested interest in doing so. It also suggests that many exchange players have a vested interest in keeping the Tether game going. So this is where, even if it is something where it isn't backed properly, it doesn't mean that it's going to go under. I just feel, from an ethical standpoint, I don't, in the long run, I don't want to have a part of, now that I know what I know, I just don't want to be in tokens where the trading pairs a Tether. I'm personally not comfortable with it. Now, Tether's official website, they say they're being fully transparent, etc., 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 but they're not. I mean, they're not. We've got all about price manipulation here. We've gone through litigation. I talked about this in another video. I want to just take you here. Here's the key people. So let's just pop over to... I've already talked with you about the Tether's general counsel, Stuart Hogan, insists these are mostly investment grade, but there's no independent verification of his statement. And he unfortunately was complicit in previous statements of Tether's reserves that turned out to be fiction. So that's coming from Francis Coppola, who is a business analyst and project manager. And then here, this article I found interesting. So if we just go back over here to Bitfinex, and Chief Financial Officer Giancarlo Devenici of Bitfinex is the CFO as well for Tether. And this was a piece that was done recently by Nicola Borsi. There's Giovanni. And I'm going to just take you through some little pieces of highlights of this, but I want you to see this. The lawless rollercoaster of Bitcoin enriches few investors while many often lose everything. Well, those who lose everything, right, who are doing crazy leverage trading, or people who aren't hodling. But who knows what's going to happen next? On Skype, Devenici signs himself as Merlin the Wizard. He is a chief financial officer of Bitfinex, one of the major exchanges. And let me just go. We've got here that in August 2018, allegedly stole $850 million from Bitfinex. They took from their customers' reserves. And Bitfinex was founded in December 2012 in Hong Kong by the French Mr. Raphael Nicolo. But it took off in 2013 when Devenici entered it through iFinex, a company established in British Virgin Islands. Born in Turin, I guess he was a plastic surgeon. And then he shifted into computer parts. That's quite a pivot in his career, but I mean, anything's possible, right? Microsoft announced that Mr. Devenici, after making a plea bargain, had decided to pay 100 million lira, so it's like 50,000 euros, for having pirated software copies. The point being, if you can do a smaller crime like that, why can't you do a bigger crime? A lot of the time when people commit a crime, they'll go and justify that crime. They'll feel that they're entitled in some capacity. Let's see. Other Devenici, I just want to take you down to this. There's some of the other people I'm going to show you that were involved here that have been arrested. He also founded Main Street Financials in London, named Holland Street Line Limited, after a career at the Italian Chamber of Commerce in Hong Kong, in Salomon Smith Barney, Franklin Templeton, Goldman Sachs, Mr. Rodolfo Francasi Ratti, Mentoni today with Main Street Partners, advisors deals with sustainable investments for Italian clients. Let me just take you down to the important stuff. Bitfinex Fracassi went to Isle of Man, where he met with managers of the Cayman National Bank. He acquired a 5% share in the Cayman Islands. Bitfinex invited for a minority holding. I was there on a personal basis. The organizers got confused. So he was saying we're not in Mr. Devenisse never had operational roles as I never had in Bitfinex. We are not in touch or have any common activities since 2016. So I guess something happened there. In 2016, Bitfinex began to have problems. Then 2018, Bitfinex again with a liquidity crisis. A senior executive who signed himself Merlin wrote frantic messages to the Panamanian company asking to repay the funds. All this could be extremely dangerous for everybody, the entire crypto community. Bitcoin could tank to below $1,000 if we don't act quickly. So this was messages that went to the bank there, and this is what I'm saying. Like, I feel that right now everything in crypto, it's meant to be all decentralized, things like Uniswap are. But to me, like from with these central exchanges, it's like a house of cards. I hope it doesn't all fall, but this definitely, and here are all the papers that this investigative journalist has found, and you can see the Republica de Panama. You can go to nicolaborsi.medium.com to see this information here from his research. And then it talks about the lending of $900 million to Bitfinex. Let's just keep going down. I want to show you this. May 22nd, 2019, Ifinex, the parent company to Bitfinex and Tether, collected $1 billion on trust by issuing the new crypto Leo. Leo is the securitization of a debt issued to cover a hole in which the role of Bitfinex has not yet been clarified. The issuer, which is the same as Tether, has never passed an independent audit. Remember I was talking to you about that earlier, where I'm in that other article, and this is why right at the beginning I showed you for US dollar coin was verified by Grant Thornton Accountancy. Let's see. The issue with in the meanwhile in London, Devenisse met with Mr. Silvano Di Stefano, now Tether Chief Investment Officer. And then Mr. Gianluca Baldarasi was the former chief of MPS London Finance Branch. And they sat on the same I'm not going to go through all of these details, but they're doing a number of different companies together here. You can see all of this. Hang on, let me just keep going down. On July 1st, 2020, Devenisse and Di Stefano together met in Switzerland. The representatives of Cytex, an Iranian cryptocurrency company. I haven't researched them yet. And then let's go down here. Mr. Danietto was director of an English company of Professor Alberto Michalizzi, the so-called Madoff of Bocchini. In January 2019, Michalizzi was sentenced for other events to 6 years' term for a scam of tens of millions of euros at the damage of Italian and foreign banks. And that is who, let me just go back a step here, who Giancarlo Devenisse is doing business with. To me, some unsavory people here committing millions and millions, tens of millions of dollars in fraud. Mr. Danieletto will go to a preliminary hearing in Moderna court next March. He's accused of having used Pear-Stek in 2018 to help the former president of the Fondazione Casa di Risparmio di Mirandola. That's the Mirandola Saving Bank Foundation. Mr. Giovanni Belluzzi to steal 7 million euros from the foundation with a fake investment in diamonds. And there you can see all the papers here on this. This is not fake stuff. This is real court papers here. Mr. Danieletto went together with Mr. Francasi to Isle of Man on behalf of Bitfinex. I was already a friend of Mr. Francasi between 2013 and 14. My role for Bitfinex was limited to a consultancy on the possible authorization of Bitfinex in England, but the company decided not to follow that path and my consultancy ended. I have not had other roles in Bitfinex, explains Mr. Danieletto. So they probably, they're like, you've got to separate ourselves from this. We don't want to be attached to the trouble that you're in now. Contacted Mr. Devenisse, Bitfinex, Tether and Bluebit, but they didn't answer our questions. And this story was published on Il Fatto Quotidiano, Italian daily newspaper, on February 15, 2021, to be continued. So this is something that is ongoing, and I wonder what is going to happen. There are other lawsuits and people that are being made examples of. I'm not going to go in that right now, but who are connected with them. and they're not going to get off. They are cooperating right now with the US, and they are likely, it's not if they're going to go to prison and be sentenced, it's how long is it going to be for. And I imagine that part of their deal is going to be to have to dish the dirt in some capacity on some of these other players. So this is why I go back to the idea of the more I dig, the more I do not like what I find. I would like to just be super positive. I come from a spiritual background. I wrote a book called Big Miracles. I'm all about yay, everything happy and love and peace. But unfortunately, the world is full of sharks, and some of these whales are full-on killer whales. They are humpback whales. They don't care. They will swallow you alive. So I just want you to protect yourself. Please be careful. I still feel very bullish on the marketplace. There are a number of projects out there that I love. Persistence XPRT and Polygon and Graph GRT and Harmony One and VeChain, all really, really good things. I feel good at large, everything overall. I just feel that stuff is coming. There is a tidal wave of coming, and I just want you to be able to make sure that you are safe. You let me know what you think in the comments, and we can have a conversation around that. I'm Joanna Garzilli. This is Crypto Angel Network. Thank you for sharing the video and for subscribing, and I'm sending you lots of love till the next time.